Kuji is a regular villager in a game-like world, and so he doesn't end up in one of Steve's villager farms. He completed a ton of side quests, and leveled up all the way to level 999, so now he is virtually unstoppable. One day, while Kuji is busy sitting in a tree, counting the money he earned today, he spots two level 1 bums down on the ground being attacked by a slime. The two are completely powerless at level 1, so they can do nothing but sit there and wait to be devoured by the slime. But at the last second before the slime could attack, Kuji flicks one of his coins at the slime, killing it instantly. The father and son are both left dumbfounded by what just happened, but a moment later Kuji jumps down and asks them if they are alright. The two are thankfully unharmed thanks to Kuji saving them, and Kuji is glad to hear it. He then hands the boy a bunch of copper coins and tells him, "These are the drops you get for killing a slime, so hunting monsters is a really good way to earn money," and he encourages the boy to try it sometime. But the boy says he could never do something like that because monsters are too dangerous and scary. If the kid doesn't want to try it, then Kuji isn't going to force him, so he begins walking away. But as he is leaving, the kid calls out to him and asks if Kuji is a hero, but Kuji casually points to his stat screen, revealing that he is a level 999 villager, and this leaves both of them absolutely stunned. In this world, people are assigned talents at birth, and aside from all the normal ones like warriors, sorcerers, and clerics, there are also some legendary titles such as the hero, king, or sage. And on the flip side of the power scaling, there's the absolutely useless and powerless class of villager. Most villagers are such bums that it is rare to see one who has managed to get past level 10, and as such, they are relegated to mundane tasks such as farming or innkeeping because there's nothing else they are good at. However, while that may be the case for most villagers, Kuji is different. At the same time, elsewhere in the forest, there's a little girl running towards the entrance to a dark and scary-looking cave, and she is here looking for a legendary sword which is meant to be found deep inside, and she has decided to go in no matter how unprepared she may be. Meanwhile, back in town, Kuji is heading back to the guild to give his report of his completed missions, and as his reward, he is given 5 gold pieces. The other adventurers present all turn their heads to look at Kuji when they hear that he is receiving 5 gold pieces because that's a lot of money, and they can't help but wonder how many monsters Kuji must have defeated to earn that much money. But Kuji doesn't pay the whispers any mind and walks off. He seems to be saving up 10,000 gold because he is trying to get his hands on a special loot box. But he's only halfway to saving up the required amount, so he still has a long way to go. He heads back over to the quest board to pick out some new quests to work on, but on his way there, he overhears a few adventurers talking about how crazy all the monsters that appeared recently are. The capital apparently put up a job posting, requesting adventurers to investigate a place called the Ancient Cavern, and though it is incredibly dangerous, if you actually manage to succeed, you'll get paid a fortune. It pays 1 gold coin for every 30 blue devils you manage to kill, and with that kind of pricing, there's no way Kuji would ever pass up the opportunity, so he decides to tackle the quest this afternoon. Meanwhile, in the middle of town, the hero, Rex, is busy giving a speech to the entire town about his goal of defeating all monsters and putting an end to the Demon King, and for that reason, he wants to employ any and all talented citizens to join his party in the fight against the Demon Lord. And to motivate them, both he and Kuro reveal their statuses as a hero and a sage. When the people see this, they all get very excited because it's not every day you get a chance to join the party of a sage and a hero, so they all start volunteering one after another, and there's even a warrior in the crowd who is over level 80. But Rex rejects him because he says the man isn't strong enough to contribute to the party's strength. As proof of this, Rex reveals that he is currently level 90, but the man doesn't think that's a fair reason to reject him when Kuro over there is only level 42. Rex admits that Kuro may be in the lower levels, but he points out that because she is a sage, she is bound to grow into the role of a legendary support as time goes on. And aside from that, she is also the 3rd princess of the kingdom, so her participation in the defeat of the Demon King will help stabilize the kingdom overall. The people can't exactly argue with that since he makes a good point, and they all still want to be part of the team, so the next to volunteer is an old priest. The priest thinks his holy powers will be an asset against the demons, but while that may be true, Rex still rejects him, claiming that the priest is too old for a journey like this, and if his health were to deteriorate along the journey, he would slow them down significantly. In that case, another priest in the crowd raises his hand and explains that he too is a level 80 priest, and he is only 20, so he should meet Rex's requirements. But despite the dude being a perfect fit, Rex still rejects him. And this time, he just gives a BS reason, saying he can't imagine the dude getting stronger in the future, so it's not worth it to recruit him. After that, yet another priest raises their hand, and this time, it's a cute 17-year-old girl. She asks if she meets Rex's requirements, and despite the fact that she's still inexperienced and only level 50, Rex immediately accepts her since it turns out he was just making excuses earlier because he didn't want to have a bunch of dudes in the party. Over on the sidelines, Kuji hears all of this, and he thinks about how lucky they must be to get to travel with a hero and sage, along with all the prestige that will come with slaying the Demon King. But that said, Kuji has no intention of actually applying, so he just stays where he is and keeps watching. Rex tells the crowd that he still has room for one more person on the team, and as he says that, a pretty witch lady with double D steps up, and Rex immediately accepts her as well for obvious reasons. Since the show is over, Kuji decides to leave and go back to the quest he took out earlier, and he wants to get this done as soon as possible, so he heads inside the ancient cavern right away. Once inside, it doesn't take long before Kuji runs into his first monster, and for any normal person, this would be a terrifying sight, but to Kuji, this is just free loot, so he one-hit KOs the monster, and once it's dead, he goes to pick up the coins it dropped. He got just over 30 silver coins from it, and his monster kill count went up by 1, so he's on track to wrap this mission up before dinner time. Kuji proceeds to walk through the cave while one-shotting each and every monster he comes across, and at one point, he receives a rare drop from one of the monsters, gaining a blue devil's horn, and blue devil horns fetch quite a high price at the market, so he plans to sell it later, but personally, he has never understood what the hype around these things was since they always seemed completely useless to him. Before long, Kuji has already taken out 15 blue devils, and he's right on schedule to finish before dusk, but as he turns the corner looking for more monsters to kill, he ends up spotting the hero party. He ducks back behind the rocks because although the hero's party is definitely skilled, it seems like a bubble of drama just waiting to burst, and he doesn't want to get involved, so he leaves before they notice him. Just then, Tina mentions to the others that she just thought she sensed someone approaching just now even though there's no one else here, and Rex is so overconfident that he assumes it must have been one of the blue devils that spotted them, and decided to run away before they could attack it. That aside, Parna asks Rex why he brought them down into the dungeon when their goal is to slay the Demon King, and the Demon King's castle is in the opposite direction from here, and Tina has also been curious about that. So Rex explains that they are here because there's a treasure hidden in this dungeon, and it's a legendary sword that only a hero above level 90 can wield. Both Tina and Parna are shocked when they learn of this, and Rex goes on to explain that they can get to it by following the royal crests laid out along the walls of this cave. Parna is still really confused, since if there really was such a legendary weapon sitting here all this time, then why didn't the royal family lend it to someone so they could fight the Demon King? Rex admits that though the hero class is rare, it is far from unique, so there are several other heroes scattered all across the country, but the royal family never entrusted any of them with the sword simply because they were scared of letting someone else hold that kind of power. They were hoping that someday, someone in the royal family would awaken a hero class so they wouldn't have to give up control, but that didn't happen, and since Rex was a hero traveling with the third princess, they decided he was close enough and told him where to get the sword. Rex is certain that he will be able to defeat the demon lord if he fights with the sword, so he tells everyone to hurry up so they can finally start their mission in earnest. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the cave, that little girl from earlier is still busy searching for the legendary sword, and from the horns protruding from her head, it's clear that she's a demon. On Kuji's end, he has just taken down his 28th demon, and he is pretty pleased with himself because he has already earned 950 silver, and he has almost met his quota, so he will be able to return home soon. That said, he does think it's a little weird that there have been so many blue devils in the area lately. Just then, the girl from earlier runs past Kuji, and he tries to warn her that it's not safe to go down that path since there are demons over there, but to his surprise, the girl runs right past the demons without any trouble, and seeing that gives him an idea of what she truly is. Back on the hero party's end, they have all been fighting non-stop to make their way to the room where the legendary sword is held, but when they get there, they find the girl standing in front of the stone with the sword missing. They are immediately put on guard since no one else should know about this place, and they can sense strong mana from her, so they are beginning to suspect that she might be a demon. They demand to know what she did with the sword, and the girl is panicking a little, trying to explain that she didn't actually take the sword, and that it was gone when she got here. Parna admits that it doesn't look like the girl has anywhere to hide the sword as she is now, but that aside, the fact that she has horns is proof that she's a demon, and demons are the sworn enemies of humans, so even though she's a kid, they have to eliminate her. They all begin casting attack spells at her, but just before the girl gets absolutely wasted, Kuji rushes in front of her and stops the attack. The others are shocked that someone was able to stop their attacks so casually, and at first they are worried that Kuji might be a demon as well because he's protecting the girl. But Kuji manages to gaslight them into believing that the horns on the girl's head are just hair accessories because he felt bad for her, and didn't want her to get hunted. But even though the hero's party is now convinced that the girl is really human, they are still suspicious of the fact that she was in the legendary sword room, and that the sword is missing now. Hearing them mention the sword, Kuji recalls that he was in this cave exploring a few months ago, and he happened to come across the sword in the stone, and since it didn't seem to belong to anyone, he decided to take it for himself and sell it at a pawn shop for some extra money. He apologizes for that since he had no idea that the sword was important at the time, but Rex and the others can't believe what they are hearing, because that sword was imbued with magic that should make it impossible for anyone other than a hero to pick it up. Kuji admits that the sword was pretty heavy when he tried picking it up, but he was able to power through with brute force in the end. The group finds it hard to believe Kuji's story since it sounds so ridiculous, so to prove it to them, Kuji casually picks up the stone that was holding the sword, a feat which should be even more impossible than just pulling out the sword with brute force. In astonishment, they all ask Kuji what his level is, and Kuji informs them that he is level 999, which absolutely stuns the group. They'd have a hard time believing it if they weren't looking at his stats screen right now, but the fact remains that he basically stole and lost the treasure that they were going to use to defeat the Demon Lord, so Kuro asks Kuji to join their party and use his strength to help them defeat the Demon Lord. However, to her surprise, Kuji refuses outright because he doesn't really like the idea of getting involved, and the Demon King has never done anything to him personally. Of course, he's not saying the hero party is wrong for wanting to take out the Demon King, but he just wants no part in it. He then takes the girl and walks out of the dungeon, and as they reach the exit, he lets go of her hand and prepares to head home. But all of a sudden, the girl calls out to Kuji and asks him to marry her, which is the last thing he expected to hear from her. Kuji isn't a billionaire, so he has no interest in minors and keeps walking away, but the girl chases after him and begs him to wait. Kuji flat out tells her that he can't marry a kid like her, but Alice tells him it doesn't have to be right now, and she's willing to wait a couple of years. Kuji really isn't comfortable with this conversation, so he changes the subject and asks why she was after the legendary sword in the first place, so she explains that her father is the Demon King, and he has been really sick lately, and she was worried that in his current state, if the heroes managed to get their hands on the sword then they might be able to kill him. Kuji is surprised to hear that the Demon King has been sick for the past year since he was fine the last time Kuji saw him, and Alice is surprised to learn that Kuji knows her father, but Kuji says he just happened to run into the Demon King once or twice a couple years back. Alice asks if that's why he refused to help the heroes kill the Demon King, but Kuji says that's not it, he just doesn't think killing the Demon Lord would do any good. After all, the whole problem was caused by the fact that demons release miasma that in turn creates monsters that attack humans. The demons themselves don't inherently wish to harm humans, but simply by being around, they cause humans to suffer, so doing something like killing the Demon King would be pointless in the long run. Alice says she's trying to work towards peaceful coexistence between humans and demons, and to do that, she needs to prove that both species can get along, which is why she wants to marry Kuji, but Kuji still refuses, and he tells Alice that what she's hoping for is pretty much impossible. Demons are pretty much no different from humans, aside from the fact that their miasma creates monsters, and everyone already knows that, but the humans keep trying to kill demons in order to stop the monster attacks, and demons have to kill humans to defend themselves, only further fueling the resentment. As depressing as that cycle sounds, Kuji says that's just the way the world works, and there's nothing they can do about it. Meanwhile, back in the dungeon, the hero party is busy trying to think of what to do now that the legendary sword is gone. Kuro says they are going to need to come up with a new plan, so for now, they should return to town to regroup, but something is clearly bothering Rex because just before Kuji left, he leaned in and told him he simply doesn't understand how the world works yet, and Rex can't help but feel like Kuji knows something he doesn't, but until he can find out what that thing is. He plans to do everything in his power to become strong enough to complete their mission. As Kuji is walking back to the city, he notices that Alice has been following him this entire time, and he is getting sick of it, so he asks her what she wants now since he already turned down her marriage proposal, but Alice tells him that's not it. Sure, she'd be happy if Kuji agreed to marry her, but since he said no, she was actually hoping he could buy something for her. Her dad's condition is pretty bad at the moment, so she wanted to get some spirit water to help cure him, but the medicine is only sold in the human town, and Alice can't go there since, with the miasma leaking from her horns, people would find out that she's a demon instantly. She also mentions that she brought the money to buy it, and as she says this, she pulls out a bag of 500 silver coins, but Kuji tells her the spirit water actually costs 10 gold coins, so what she has isn't nearly enough. Alice had no idea the medicine was going to be so expensive, so she asks Kuji if he would be willing to lend her the money to buy it. Kuji doesn't answer right away and instead asks if she thinks the medicine is really going to solve anything, because even if her dad gets better, the humans are still going to be after him, and eventually, they'll manage to kill him, so he asks if she doesn't hold at least some resentment towards humanity for it. But from Alice's perspective, hating humanity wouldn't help her solve her problems, which is why she instead chooses to focus her energy on trying to unite the humans and demons so they can all get along, especially since she knows there are humans out there like Kuji who aren't hostile towards demons. Kuji is surprised by her answer, but he can respect the dedication, so he agrees to help her pay for the medicine, but only on the condition that she comes with him back to town. Alice tries telling him she can't go there because her horns will give her away, but Kuji already thought of that, so he pulls out a ribbon, and to her surprise, the miasma stops leaking out altogether. She is absolutely amazed by the properties of the ribbon, so she asks Kuji how he made it, and he explains that he got the materials for it by destroying a monster spawn crystal right as it was about to spawn something. He's not exactly sure how it works, but like this, Alice should be able to enter town with him with no problems at all. Once they get into town, Alice is amazed by everything around her because this is her first time in a city like this. A stall owner nearby notices how awestruck Alice is, and figuring that this must be her first time in the city, he gives her an apple on the house as a welcome gift. Alice is very grateful and thanks the man, and as she and Kuji keep walking, she asks Kuji how much an apple like this costs. Since Alice doesn't seem to have a good grasp on how much money is worth, he explains that the apple is worth 150 copper coins, and 10,000 copper coins is equal to 1 silver coin, which is enough to get you a whole feast. 1,000 silver coins is equal to 1 gold coin, which can buy you a small house. That means 10 gold coins is quite a large sum of money to pay for the spirit water, and in fact, it is so expensive that even some nobles can't afford it. Alice asks Kuji if he's really okay with spending that much money for her, but he says it's fine since he can probably just get the Demon King to pay it back later. After having dinner with Alice, Kuji takes her back to his room and tells her to wait here for a moment, because there's someone he wants to bring over. But when Kuji finally gets back, Alice is scared half to death because he brought a big, burly man with him. She faints on the spot out of fright, but after she regains consciousness, Kuji explains that this is his friend, Takako, and though she may not look like she is actually a female level 124 monk. He tells Alice she doesn't have to worry about Takako, because he already told her about the fact that Alice is a demon, and Takako doesn't really mind. There was once a time in Takako's life that she thought all demons needed to be eradicated, but then one day, while she was injured and on the verge of dying, a demon saved her life, and ever since then, she gave up the idea of hunting demons. They plan to escort Alice back to the Demon Lord's castle tomorrow, but all of a sudden, monsters begin raining down from the sky, and it is revealed that a demon general is the one behind the attack. He addresses the entire town and tells them to submit to the power of the demons because this is an invasion, and he is certain they don't have the power to fight back against this many monsters. But when Kuji comes face to face with one of the boars, he just casually throws it into the air to take out one of the birds. But then he realizes the money just dropped somewhere in town, so he rushes off to go pick it up. While he is busy doing that, Takako is protecting Alice, but they soon end up coming across the hero party, and they are currently trying to rally the people to fight back against the demons and shoot the birds down with all the firepower they have. Just as they are about to unleash a barrage into the sky, Kuji shows up and stops them. He tells the group that what they are about to do is incredibly dumb because they didn't stop to consider the fact that if they miss any of their shots, it's going to fall right back down on top of them, and even if they do manage to take all the birds down, that will just force the demon to release all of his monsters at once. Kuil admits that Kuji has a point, but she asks him if he has any better ideas, and to that, Kuji tells her that he's going to go up and talk to the demon general to figure out what he wants. The others think that's a terribly risky idea, but before they know it, Kuji has already leapt into the air, and with a little boost from Takako, he manages to land on the back of the demon general's bird so he can talk.